What's up, everybody? This is the DFS 5-pack. My name is Ryan Kostrowski. We are here this week to talk about the NFL. Slate starts tomorrow. Let's rock this thing. All right, guys, if you could click the thumbs up button, it's always appreciated. And if you're new to the station, go ahead and press that subscribe button. All right, guys. First things first, let's talk about the running back position. We're going to look at D'Ernest Johnson of the Cleveland Browns, priced at $4,700. The key thing here, and I'm pretty sure about 99.9% of you already know this, is that there's no Kareem Hunt, there's no Nick Chubb. So this is a cash game lock for me. Is it a great spot at New England? No, it's not a great spot. But he's the starting running back for a team that's really good at running the football at only $4,700. And if you go back to that game, that Thursday night game against Denver, this kid can play, no doubt about it, right? He had moves. This was not a fluke that he had all those yards. He looked really, really good while doing it. So, I think on a lot of other teams, this guy's a viable RB2, RB1, and he's only buried on the depth chart in Cleveland because they have two of the better running backs in football. So at this price tag, absolute cash game lock. Is there a case to be made for the GPP fade? Sure, maybe. I can see why you would do that. I don't think there's any lock that he's going to run the ball well. We know Belichick tries to do his best to take away the team's strength, and with Cleveland, that's obviously running the football. So try to win it on the right arm of Baker Mayfield seems like a logical way that Bill Belichick and the defense would try to approach this game. Can I see a scenario where Johnson has maybe 60 yards rushing, 2 catches, 20 yards for 10 points? Yeah, I can see that scenario, and why that's not going to ruin your cash game lineups. That's definitely not what you're looking for in GPPs. And with a plethora of running backs that are in play, I could see just not spending your running back position on him. So the way I would handle it, and I play a lot of Sundays like this, where I have one main roster where I do cash game and a GPP entry. Johnson's going to make that lineup, no doubt about it. But then I usually throw in a 3-entry max on top of that for GPPs. He will make 1 to 2 of those lineups. I'm still determining which one it's going to be, but it will not be a full 3 for 3. Also won't be a full fade. It's a starting running back with talent on a team that runs the ball well at 4,700. In a quote-unquote perfect lineup, I think you just play him and kind of move on from there. So if you run one larger money single-entry GPP, I think you just get D'Ernest Johnson in your lineup. And if he's only mediocre, you can still find ways to win if you get your other guys right. All right, next up. So a guy like this is one of the reasons I do find Johnson fadeable in tournaments specifically is because, what's not to love about Najee Harris right here? Sure, if he was 4,500, that would be nice. That's not realistic. Najee Harris has turned himself into one of the better backs in the NFL already. So he didn't look great the first couple of weeks. Not really his fault, right? When you have no room to run because your offensive line stinks, you're not going to look great. The line, in a part of it's courtesy of the younger players that they have on it, on Pittsburgh, has gotten better. Now, don't interpret that as saying it's good, but it has gotten better. By now, you guys all know that Najee Harris is a true bell cow, right? He's in there for most passing downs, almost all the running downs, right? He gets I think the highest percentage of carries for his team in the NFL. I don't know that for a fact. If it's not him, I don't know who else it is. He's extremely talented. He's at home against Detroit in what shapes up not to be a great weather game either. So they're going to get the ball to Harris with no Chase Claypool. It's just another weapon out of this offense. So that this game is going to kind of just ride on the legs of Najee Harris. He might even be one of those games where he's more involved in the passing game as they miss one of their other wide receivers with Juju still out and everything like that. So love Harris this week. Lock for me in my quote-unquote ideal lineup. And I can see why you would just, if you like him that much, I could see why you would just run him almost all the way through because he's really good and this is a really good spot to be. He's going to be popular. Yeah, he is, but he deserves to be popular. Next up, let's talk about this week's cover boy. Obviously, being a Green Bay resident and a big Packer fan, I'm a Davante Adams guy as well. His price is down a little bit and partly a byproduct of Aaron being out last week. So he's under 8K now, which is very, very affordable for him. This is another one of those, it's a cash lock for me. He makes your quote unquote perfect lineup, knowing that Rodgers is almost guaranteed to be back. It's supposed to be cold in Green Bay, but the rest of the weather seems fine. The Seattle pasty is far from scary. And again, he's going to be the chalkiest wide receiver per projections as of right now. Now, if something happens and Rodgers doesn't play, obviously you abandon this one because anybody who watched the game last week could see that Jordan Love's probably not the answer. They were able to blitz him with impunity, and we would not be looking at Davante at 8K if that were the situation. In that case, we'll pivot down to somebody else. But it sounds like Aaron's going to play. Aaron's been doing this long enough. He can jump right back into the offense. And maybe even another way to look at it is just not having been around the team for 10 days or whatever it's been, he's really going to be looking at his favorite target. Obviously, him and Adams have a ton of chemistry. So that part's not going to fade over, the 2-week hiatus or whatever it's been. So is there a case for the GPP fade? Yeah, absolutely. They have been surrounding him in the red zone this year. He only has 3 touchdowns. It's not implausible that Seattle does this thing. It's also not crazy that Adams goes 10, 186, and 2 touchdowns this week. That's highly possible as well. He's very, very good. It's a great spot for him and everything like that. So I think you lock him in cash. And very similar to Ernest Johnson, if I were to run a 3-entry max from GPPs this weekend, I'd play him in 1 or 2 of them. As a Packer fan, knowing I'm going to be watching this game, I want to be able to root for my guy. We talked about this yesterday before Giannis got ruled out when we were talking about Giannis versus Jokic. I think in our heart of hearts, Matt and I both liked Jokic a little bit more. But I kind of told him, if I was just running one kind of cheaper lineup for the night, I might play Giannis because I like to root for my guy. I'm sure some of you guys do the same thing right here. So, all in all, I think Adams is a great look in cash games, but I can absolutely get on board with the GPP fade. He's not even averaging a good score this year for GPPs. He's not even really averaging a good score right now for cash games. So I would play him in cash games because of his popularity and potential upside and the matchup and everything like that. But there's a lot of ways to get away from him in tournaments. Next up, let's talk about the tight end position. I'm looking at Dan Arnold. We've talked about him a lot lately. He continues not to get a price raise. This is a guy due for a touchdown as well. So you've seen him be fairly productive since getting to Jacksonville. Part of that being is Jacksonville is usually throwing. They're not good despite what happened last week, and this usually means that they need to throw the ball. Probably in line for that again this week against Indiana at home. The Colts are maybe not rolling, but clearly going to be the favorites in this game. Arnold is only 3,500. We're getting to that point of the year where I like dome games, right? It is getting colder outside and everything like that. The Jags will have to throw. And he's cheap. He allows me to get some of these guys like Davante Adams and Najee Harris that I want in my lineup. So Dan Arnold is very much on a short list for me. All right, last up, let's talk about a defense this week. And I'm going to go right back to my Green Bay Packers. I figure it doesn't hurt for me to talk about the team that I know best. The Packers quietly have one of the best defenses in football. The first 6 quarters of the year, they looked terrible. Brought in a new defensive coordinator, and it looked bad, right? If you remember that first game against New Orleans, that was terrible. And as much as the offense has been maligned for it, Jameis Winston went up and down the field with absolutely nothing stopping him. Same thing happened in the first half of the second game against Detroit. It really looked like the Packers defense was struggling. Halftime of that game, they've been a brand new team. Rashawn Gary is true, kind of become like a true disruptor on the line of scrimmage. His team's under 3K. Russell Wilson has had his fair share of struggles in Lambeau Field throughout his career. And this is when the Packers defense wasn't nearly as good. The other thing they got going here is Russ hasn't played in a month. I don't think it's crazy at all to think that he's a little rusty. Packers are due for one of those pick sixes. Also, they're coming in with no ownership and they're under 3K, which means that, unless you got another defense you love and you're playing in the Millionaire Maker, you're playing in GPPs, because this is definitely a GPP pick for me. I don't always 100% agree with Matt on how random defenses are, but I don't disagree with him either. And what I mean by that is, pick sixes are pretty random. Now, if you got a good pass rush and you got aggressive defenders and everything like that, it's more likely to happen. But, picking up a fumble for a touchdown or something like that, that is relatively random. So he's not wrong about that one at all. And knowing that the Packers are currently projected for 1.5% ownership, becomes a little bit more intriguing. Their pass rush is getting after it, guys. And this could definitely be a week where you get a defense like them. Wilson hasn't played in a while. It's possible we see great Russ, but it's also possible that having just not done it for a little bit, he's a little bit rusty. So I wouldn't be surprised at all to see the Packers defense get you another quality week. They've been really good since halfway through the second game. I watch every minute of them, and this is the best defense the Green Bay Packers have had in a really, really long time. So I think it's a random kind of D that you can take a look at in GPPs. That's it, guys. Thank you very much. Have a great day.